I am no different from all the kids that I grew up with. In fact, I'm probably worse. I didn't want to box. I just went to the gym to make friends. If I was a quitter, I would quitting everything in life. If I give you 50 million, you'd get rid of it faster than if you weren't 50 million. If you knock about with idiots, you've got more chance of being an idiot. If you knock about with success, you've got more chance of being successful. We can always hustle, we can always pretend, we can always lie, we can always bullshit.
Such a good point. Why do we knock people who own the success and become role models?
Face your fears, make fear your friend. Break it down. And if you breaking it down, eventually, the things that feared you think, well, actually, no. And the reason why I can tell you this, because I've been there. What I'm saying to you in business, you put yourself in uncomfortable situations where your back's up against the wall, and you think, right, how am I going to get out of this? If I can do that with my humble stars, can you imagine what you could do if you apply yourself?
My mother-in-law's brother was a boxer. So they used to box with Clifton. His name was Sugar, Asian guy. He's a heavyweight. So he was like, there's not many Indian boxers back in the day. So Well, listen, and Yemeni, Naz got the same, man. But when they make it big. Yeah. Doyen Nelson, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So for my listeners and viewers, now if you don't know Johnny, don't know where you've been, he's all over Sky Sports, but he is a world, European and British cruiserweight champion, the longest reigning champion, held from 1999 to 2005. Holds a joint record of most consecutive cruiserweight title defences. Sky Sports presenter, where he interviews the best of best in boxing. Published author with the book in 2010, Hard Road to Glory. Lots of charity work, lots of giving back. What an honour to have Doyen Nelson on the podcast.
You know what? I forgot all about half of that stuff. But pleasure.
No, it's all good. Because Johnny, Derby, I'm from Derby, and Johnny, 21 years ago, Storm Arena, I can remember playing five-side football there. You beat Thompson to get the World Championship. And also, I think I was at your last ever fight. Yeah, because you came out of retirement 2 years ago, boxing with the Stars in London. Your exhibition match, you got ready. You're looking good, by the way. I mean, you were super fit. I know you just knocked it back. But I don't know, have you been back in the ring since then?
Yeah, I train every day. Say 5 days a week.
Yeah. But that was...
I do heavy sparring because them young boys have just got a little bit too much on me. So I train as often as possible.
Yeah, good stuff. So, it was nice to meet you there, but we shared a picture and it was great to see you actually in the ring fighting competitively. I know it was a bit of charitable stuff. That was good. But look, Johnny, for my listeners, I want to go back because your story is amazing, man. I was just reading, obviously I'm just slightly younger than you, 10 years younger than you, roughly. But I've seen the rise and followed your journey. But take me back. Johnny, what were you like growing up?
You know what, I was like, probably like most young kids that probably look at people off television and think, wow, he's different, and think it'd never be us. That was me. I was a shy young kid. I used to mistake nerves for fear. So I used to think I was scared of everything, but I was just a nervous kid. I couldn't fight. I could cause trouble, but I couldn't back it up. I was just an average kid. I was an average kid. I didn't want to box. I just went to the gym to make friends. That was the only reason why I went to the gym.
Wow. And at school, what were you like at school? Were you a good student or were you mischievous?
I was a lovable rogue. So I went to school for fun. And that was it. My mum used to say to me in the morning, do you want to go to school on today? If you're in bed, I'm like, nah, I'd stay at home. But I always went to school because mum was sent to school nice and tidy, clean and tidy. And I like going to school because that's where my friends were.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, obviously, you know, your parents, working class background. You know, your dad worked in steel, and your mum was a nurse. And Indians, when we came over, similar. You know, you just show up at school, and you just go in day and day. And it's fun back in the days. Obviously, you have your issues with some schools, but generally, it was the thing. So, you know, you got into boxing obviously just to make friends and do stuff, but you lost your first 10 amateur fights. I mean. I mean, I've sparred in the ring, but just play, you know, not serious. So I know how tough it is. But to lose 10, but then still have the mindset to go again. I mean, what kept me going?
Well, the downside of being going to the gym was I had to fight. So remember, I only went to the gym to make friends, and so that's where all my mates were. The downside was having to box. Yeah. So when we were amateurs, when we go to a show, I'd hope my opponent didn't turn up. And then I'd say about all these things I was going to do. Yeah. But, you know, it turned up 13 times. So when I lost, I wasn't really bothered if I won or lost, because I wasn't a boxer. I was just going through the motions. All my mates did. But the thing is, I was that bad. I was the butt of our jokes. You know, they wouldn't tell me I'm rubbish behind my back. They'd say, you are rubbish to your face. And I just didn't apply myself because it wasn't what I wanted to do. I think some people are born knowing their path in life from the second they're born, and they've got that. They've got it. They've just got it in the DNA. Some people fall upon their path in life. Some people it's forced upon them, and I think mine was forced upon me without even realizing it. Because the journey, looking back on it now, I think, wow. When I look at my own story, I think, how did you stick that out? I understand now, but at the time, there was a drive, there was a want, there was a desire, and I could never understand what it was. And it wasn't to win, it wasn't to be world champion, it wasn't to be the best, but it was to not give up, and that was it. It was like, and so even though, and I mean, it's not ego, it's not pride. Even though I wasn't bothered about being a boxer. Even though winning or losing didn't make a world of difference to me. There was something inherently deep down inside told me that if I was a quitter, I would quit in everything in life. So I had to create a habit. Yeah. So I was preparing myself for life, not for boxing. It was preparing myself for a habit of making sure quitting was not a habit. Quitting was not in my DNA. You can be a fighter in a ring, and some fighters, when you hit them, they'll jump on the floor and pretend they're hurt. And what happens is, they'll do that to get to the easy way out. But the time when they really want it, they'll get hit, and they don't want to go down. But instinctively, because it's habit, they'll go down. Yeah. So you've got to create habits, but create good habits. I don't know why that was in my DNA. That was my path. When I was 13 years old, my brother became Muslim, and he was trying to convert me into Islam, and I knew it wasn't going to happen. I just didn't have the discipline or anything. But he told me one or two things, and so this is a little example of giving yourself a little test. He was talking about eating the pork. I used to love bacon. I loved it. Loved the smell and everything. Yeah. But he said to me, we all need a discipline in life. And if we have one discipline in life, we are setting the stall out for every other thing or discipline we want to attach ourselves to. So you've got to have something that you think, I can do that. So once you've got one, you can do it 10, 15, 20 times down the line. So he said, so you need one discipline. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink. I was only 13. I thought, I stopped eating pork. But I loved it. And that was the only reason. And I stopped eating pork. I'd be in place, I could smell it. I'm like, man, and when you're hungry, it's an easy thing to eat. And it was a habit that I'd created from the age of 13 to the point where naturally I had an intolerance for it. But I was like 20 years old. I knew I couldn't eat it. I ate it by mistake. I was sick all over the place. But now and again, when I've been hungry, I'm like, never. And so once I'd created that discipline, a habit, a good habit, I could put it to anything. I then knew that I could set my mind to anything and stick to it because I proved it to myself with something so small. And I know it sounds really simple, but it's such an easy exercise to a habit, an easy habit to pick up. If you do it with one thing and you know you can do it with so many other things. But if you keep falling down at one thing, whatever else you try and do, you'll always have that default.
100%. Habits are everything. That's why business, boxing, and people ask me when I built my business to 500 staff, how'd you do it? And it wasn't any kind of, skill does come into it, but generally it's a habit of making them calls, meeting them clients, day in, day out, going there. But people don't understand it's the daily small things, like you said, that you do day in, day out, rather than these big, massive things. Everybody wants to be heavyweight champion of the world, right? But who wants to get up in the morning and run at 4 a.m? Not many people, right?
And plus, it's not just about that. You know, being heavyweight champion of the world there's a responsibility to it. So we think it's one mountain to climb. There's 50 mountains to climb, because it's not just about training hard, listening, and making sure you do the right thing when you're in the ring. It's a responsibility of being champion and staying champion. The responsibility of having the discipline to do the same things when you were broke, when you had nothing, what drove you to get up at stupid o'clock in the morning. That's the responsibility of a champion, to stay champion. And so these are habits that you pick up along the way to make sure when you get to where you think you want to be, you stay there. We all can have a drive or an ambition. This is what I want to do. This is what I intend on doing. We can all have that. But it's a case of making sure when we get there, can we keep it? You know, your drive. I can remember Barry McGuigan when he was boxing for the world title. And as he was coming through his career, every time before he won the world title, he said, I want to thank Mr. Eastwood. I'm really thanking him for his help, blah, 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 blah. I just want to get that world title shot. And he always had the same mantra, the same speech, and had the same drive. When he won it, I was there when he won it. And Brendan said, he'll have it for about 2 more defences, then he'll lose it. And I said, why, Brendan? He said, because listen to how he spoke. His speech changed. He said, he was like, I've done it, I've got there. His thirst was quenched. The problem is, once your thirst is quenched, then you will need to find a new motivation to make you carry on and stay there. And it's the hardest thing. So it's actually harder staying the best, staying on top, staying a champion once you get there. Everybody thinks because they're not there, that's the mountain. That isn't the mountain. The real battle starts when you're there. That's right. So I knew for years, remember I had 13 amateur fights, I only won 3. I lost my first 3 professional fights. I won and lost. I became British champion. That wasn't my goal. So therefore my belly wasn't full, I wasn't complacent. I became European champion. That wasn't my goal. So therefore my belly wasn't full, I wasn't complacent. I did it again 10 years later. So I still was boxing and still was developing and getting better. Eventually when I won the world title, that wasn't my goal. That didn't quench my thirst. So I wanted more. So that's why I managed to defend it 13 times, because my goals were not of those of most young men, or my goals were not of those of the naked eye. I just want to be world champion. My goals were way past that. I can remember winning it. I didn't think, yes, this is it. I actually thought, is that it? And so when I do talks to youngsters, when I do motivational talks to athletes and talk to businesses, I make it quite clear. You know, you've got to understand that you've got to think about what you want. And when you want it, you want to understand experiences. You need good and bad experiences to get wisdom. With wisdom, you can stay on top for as long as you want. Without wisdom, if I give you 50 million, you get rid of it faster, get through it faster than if you weren't 50 million. You understand? Because you know how to get it. But if I give it you, here, I have that, here, you have that, you have that. So you need to appreciate and understand why you are where you are. And you need to understand what your ultimate goals are, why you want to do it. If you chase money, 9 times out of 10, you'll probably not get it. If you chase success, you'll get success and money.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, you got touching on the mindset of you know, the upbringing. Like, you know, it's what lens you look at, because obviously my upbringing and probably your upbringing is different to my children's and your children's. But rather than seeing that as a negative, I think my upbringing was a positive, because it made us what we are today. It gave us the strength, because it's the challenges that make us stronger, right, Johnny? Not the success.
Yes, yeah. And also, if we don't benefit from our upbringing, our kids do, because we remember how our parents were and what effect they had on us. And if it was good or bad, we make sure we either do or don't do what our parents did with us.
Yeah.
And I said, so my father, my stepfather, he used to gamble a lot. We always down the bucket. So if I see that every day,
yeah,
I'm liable to think that's what I do. If I see my parents sat down reading a book or doing something academic, I'd have been that way. Right. But I also could have been like my dad, always in the butt looking at the horses, doing the bingo. I wasn't. Fortunately, my mum had the discipline with us to make sure we went to a decent school, make sure we stayed respectful and did the right thing. But what I'm saying is we inspire, we subtly persuade and influence people around us by our natural acts. And so sometimes without thinking about it, our acts can be so profound. So we then learn with our kids, right? I remember when I was a kid, I used to say this, I'll make sure that was a good thing or a bad thing. I'll make sure my kid sees that. And that's so down the generations, we all learn.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I do this and you do your stuff for charity as well. It's basic. Sometimes, parents can't be the role models. So mentors step in. Brendan Ingle, which we're going to talk about towards the end of the podcast. But, having role models is so important because even though, sometimes our parents didn't do the right thing, we were able to see other role models, right? Doing good things and follow their steps and learn from them because unfortunately, no one teaches you how to parent, That's
right. There's no handbook to being a good parent. There's what we do is it's about common sense. So fortunately, again, my line is we all need a Brendan. And the reason why I say that is because I know how influential and how Brendan marked my life. And so I think if he can make somebody like me a lump of coal into a lump of gold, as far as I'm concerned, can you imagine what you do with people that have got natural talent, that have got a better start than I had? So we need a mentor that has the foresight and understanding and selflessness to help you. And the only person that benefits from it is you. Yeah. In many walks and different atmosphere, many different parts of your life.
Yeah, 100%. And, the boxing things, I just wanted to touch on you mentioned in the book about when you went into the ring, twice you didn't go and you had the opportunity to have the world fight and twice you pulled out. But then you went for the third time and obviously, you did it. How, have you got any tips on how you got yourself back on that horse? Is there anything you can share?
So what we do is when we started off with habits. And this is why I know, at the time I didn't realise, but now looking back on it, I realised what I was doing.
Yeah.
And what I was being groomed to do via Brendan. And so if you create good habits, then good habits, will affect every aspect of your life. If you create bad habits, and vice versa. For winning the world title, I then understood that I had been through enough experiences to have enough wisdom to have no reason to look to lose a fight. Right. So whereas before, when I tried the first time, I thought, I'm hustling here, I don't deserve to be here. That was my excuse, even though I had the ability to win. The second fight, I was never over the first fight, and still I thought I was on a hustle. I thought I was getting exposed, and that was it. Then after that, the best thing that happened there was I spent 6 or 7 years on the road as a sparring partner in France and Germany and Italy. Wow. And that's where I had to learn the hard way. Now, it doesn't have to be that hard, but that had to work for me because Brendan always said you don't have the confidence to match your ability. He had more belief in me than I did. So I've got to now somehow believe in myself, really believe myself, not just words. I had to really believe myself. So then I had to put myself in situations where I didn't want to be. I had to find comfort in discomfort. And so once I was comfortable in those situations, then I knew I could do anything. I could achieve anything. And that was most important. So as a sparring partner, I was always sparring with the best in the world. So therefore, as time went on, I went through all the experience of being there with them, sparring with them, working with them. Again, another great saying of Brendan is, if you knock about with idiots, you've got more chance of being an idiot. If you knock about with success, you've got more chance of being successful. So I was engrossed. I was submerged into gyms as a sparring partner with the best in the world. I could only benefit from that. And if I didn't benefit from that, I shouldn't have been there in the first place. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't done so here you are, John, this is for you. Here's for you to learn. I had to want it. So I wasn't in no plush hotel or plush apartment. I was in a dirty little bedsit. I'd walk across to the gym where there'd be like 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and I know every one of them want to take my head off. I haven't got a friend in the room. So therefore, I've submerged myself in the devil's pit. Yeah. So I've either got to fight or fly. I've either got to want it or not want it. Now, we can always hustle. We can always pretend. We can always lie. We can always, excuse my French, bullshit.
Yeah.
The only person we can't do that to is ourselves.
Yeah.
Because when you get to bed at night time and you close your eyes, you know exactly what was bullshit, what was a hustle, what was garbage, what you've lied about, what you can and can't do. So you've got to do it for you. You've got to think, right, this is what I need. Because if everything you do is inspired by I want to look good to him, I want to look good so people think X, Y, Z, you'll spend more time trying to impress everybody else than actually succeeding. What you should do is think, right, I want to do this for me. Yeah. You want to be selfish to say, I want to do this for me. And I'm not saying be selfish in how you live your life. What I'm saying is be selfish as in your goals to say, this is what I want to do. So it's like life. And boxing is a transferable skill, what happens in boxing. But it's like life. You know, in boxing, if my aim is to become world champion, I'm doing everything possible and I become world champion, I'm going to be distracted by so many things. And life is the same. If you want to be successful in business, you think, that is what I want to do. This is my goal. You're going to be distracted by life, good and bad. And it could come in the shape of family, friends, an accident, death, no money, lots of money, girlfriend, boyfriend. And then what happens is, if your aim is that, and you get distracted by that, then get distracted by that, then get distracted by that, what happens is, some of us get stuck on the distraction. So we forget our goals. You're like, and then we forget our goals. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying neglect and ignore all your distractions in life, because that is life. What I'm saying is, make sure you prioritize your goal. That's my goal. I will deal with that, but that's my goal. I will deal with that, but that's my goal. I will deal with that, but that's my goal. Sometimes the wool might be pulled from underneath you, and you might be distracted by somebody you thought was very close that got you. It doesn't mean they're being mean. It doesn't mean that they're being negative. It just means they don't understand or see your dream or see what you see. Ali once said that when he was boxing George Foreman, and all around him were worried and stressed and saying, you're going to get killed, you're going to get hurt. I said, don't worry. And he said, because I knew, as we walked, they walked, and they were worried about every little pothole. Don't do this, Ali. Don't do that, Ali. Don't do this. But as I walked, I could see above and beyond the clouds. They could only see what the little potholes. So I knew what my goal was. I knew what I could achieve because I could see it. They couldn't. So if he'd have listened to them and bought into their fears, their inhibitions, their worries, then his goal would have been like, and he wouldn't concentrate on that. But his aim was that. So he said, don't worry about that. Don't worry about this. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying you be rude to people. I'm not saying be disrespectful to people. What I'm saying is, own your shit. Yeah. Own who you are. Own what you can do. And be honest with yourself. And if you're honest with yourself, then what happens is, you will achieve so many things and even more. If you try and live somebody else's dreams or fears, it becomes your nightmare. So what you got to do is think, like, this is my job. You don't have to be disrespectful or rude to people. You never know. Sometimes it's like a parent. In my family, my mum never wanted me to box. My mum, once she found out, it was pure negative stuff. My dad said, Johnny, you can't fight. You're no good. Now they weren't being mean, but I was always a crybaby at home. And they never see what I see. They've never met anybody that's been successful, really successful. Yeah. They see people on TV, so they must be different than us. They see people driving big flash cars, so they must be different from us because we don't know anybody personally. So just because we don't know anybody personally that's successful, doesn't mean it's not achievable. It just means we don't know anybody personally. So when you're getting something negative from somebody personal, like your mother, your brother, your sister, your wife, they're not being mean. They're just talking from their perspective. They're talking from what they see. And so you don't have to fall out with them. You either say, you know what? You do you, I'll do me, but let's keep these things separate. My dad used to come to the amateur fights with me. And after the amateur fights, Brendan, and you said, Johnny, you're rubbish, you shouldn't fight, you're no good. Brendan said to me one day, he said, Johnny, I want you to do me a favour. I said, what's that, Brendan? He said, I don't want you to bring your dad to the boxing anymore. I said, why not? He said, because it's hard enough you getting the confidence to fight and win. But when your dad is endorsing it by saying you're no good, it's not doing any good for your confidence. He's not being mean. He just speaks from his perspective. He sees what he sees through his eyes. So you've got to develop yourself, but you need to try and eliminate negativity around you and be positive and believe in yourself. Now, this was a very hard thing to do. How can I eliminate my dad? And so what I did was I just didn't tell him I was fighting. And I'd go to a show and box. You know, and I felt bad about it when he found out I'd fight. I'm like, well, no, I didn't know I got it last minute notice. But what I'm saying is it was for the greater good. But all these things are transferable skills. So, and it's human nature, human habits. Never be surprised by human nature when we get negativity. I could tell you 1,000 things good about you, and I could tell you one thing wrong. And the one thing you'll focus on is the one thing wrong. And that's what we do. We're our own worst enemy. Our worst enemy is this up there.
Yeah.
You understand? So if you tell me, Johnny, you're not going to fight this, that, and the other, that's cool. If I'm foolish enough to believe into you, remember, I'm the guy that's getting up 3 o'clock in the morning to go for a jog. Again, 7 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym and train. Again, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to go and spar. And I'm putting all this work in 5-6 days a week. So if I'm so weak enough to let you tell me I'm no good and start buying into thinking, well, maybe I'm no good, even though you're not getting up, training, and 3 times a day, committing your life to it, dieting and everything. I'm the fool, not you, because I believed in somebody that can't do what I do. Yeah, it's not being disrespectful to you. I'm being disrespectful to myself for believing in that. So everybody's entitled to an opinion. Human beings can be very fickle, and they can be human nature can be very shallow, can be. And if you express love or hate, it's an emotion. So therefore, if you're indifferent, you can be polite, you can be respectful to people, but you can get on with your business. And when you get on with your business, your drive, people might criticize, give you a hard time about your drive, but I'm telling you now, when you get to the top and succeed, those same people will be saying, oh, amazing, this guy did this, he's done this, that, and the other. I got it. A lot of guys that used to beat me up in the gym daily and drifted out and left the gym, then years later come back and see me as world champion. They say, how did you do that, Johnny? You were crap. I said, I just listened. Yeah. But the problem is, they didn't, and they're thinking, and what happens is then they've got to live with the wrong decision they made in life. There's a guy called Peter Brown. He's on my professional record. First professional fight, I lost to him. He worked on a door in a club in Hull. I was with my friends. We were going out to this club in Hull. As we got there, Peter Brown was on the door, head doorman. And this time, I think I'd been European or become world champion. I can't remember what it was. And as I got there, to the door, this Peter said, "Johnny, come in, come." Oh, right, nice one, cool. And as I got there, he just stay on 1 second. Let me shoot this. Just hold on 1 second. I'm just shooting this. Oh,
go for it. Yeah, you're right.
As I got to the door, Peter Brown, he come in and he said, "Tell these boys that I boxed you." I said, "Yeah, he did. He boxed me." And said, and what happened? I said, he beat me. He boxed really well. He did really well. He was bigging himself up in front of his boys. And he boxed really well. And he went, "Anyway, go in, son, go in. It's raining outside." Yeah, thank you very much. I'm polite. And as I'm getting inside, we're all sat down. They put us in a VIP area, give us drinks and everything. And my mate said, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Why did I do what?" He said, "Why do you let him big himself up on you, man? You know, he's bigging himself up on you, making you look soft in front of his boys." I said, "How?" He said, "Tell him how he beat you." I said, "All right then. Look where we are." He said, "Yeah." I said, "It's raining outside." He went, "Yeah." He said, "He stood outside and we're stood in here. If he was that good, why is he not sat here in VIP, world champion. And why am I not stood out there on the door in the rain? One of his friends is going to say that eventually because he's bigged him up. He's won the argument with his mates. And one of his mates is going to say, if you were that good, why is he in there and you're right here? So that penny's going to drop eventually.
Yeah.
And he's going to go on one night time and think, shit. In a sense, so your success says it all.
Yeah.
You don't have to brag and boast. You don't have to buy a flash car. I don't wear, all I wear, that's my jewelry. I wear a watch. I don't wear jewelry. I don't have to feel I have to show anything up or be braggadocious and say, yeah, look at me. My success will say all. And that is the best way, the best dish cold served, where you just cool with it. You know, you make people figure out, because the best lesson to learn is learning it yourself. If I said to Pete, yo, you still don't look at you, start arguing with him, I've taken his attention off what really is going on. You know, so hopefully the lesson that for him was, I've got to stick at something. I've got to be consistent and persistent. Because if Johnny Nelson could do that and I beat him, you know, and that hopefully will help the rest of his life.
Johnny, you know, listened to that, so much information there for people to take away. But it seems to me you're a very good thinker. You're a logical thinker. You think about a situation. You're always looking at different scenarios, being the ego. I mean, that is a really good mindset from somebody, like you said, that didn't want to get in the ring in the first place. But it seems like this day and age with social media, you know, someone says something negative and it kills characters, it kills dreams, you know what I mean? And that's, you know, growing up here, I mean, we didn't really have mobile phones and we got into mobile phones. We've seen the other side. But now what I want to say to like people listening to podcasts a bit younger than us is, look, you know, you've got to be bigger and stronger if you want to succeed, right? You've got to be able to look at the perspective of what someone's saying, because what people are saying is not always the truth, right?
Ego is our biggest downfall as human beings. And so because we want to show that I'm not weak, I'm not a pussy, you know, this guy, I'm not all this, that, and the other. And so we feel as though we got to show, we got to brag, we got to boast, and we buy into people's negativity. Because there'll always be negative people. Remember, those negative people are negative for a reason. It could be jealousy, it could be experience, it could be just bad-mindedness, it could be one thing or another. So that is you can't, if you buy into someone else's mindset, then they've got you. Be successful in what you do, and do it with a smile on your face. Manners and charm and respect cost nothing.
Yeah.
You know, when you do that, you know, then people, when you succeed, they'll think, wow, I want to be like him. I am no different from all the kids that I grew up with. In fact, I'm probably worse, because I left school with the reading ability of a 10-year-old, the handwriting of a 13-year-old. I wasn't academic. I wasn't a smart ass. I wasn't clever academically. I wasn't naturally gifted as a sportsman. So if I can do this and end up being world champion, retiring as an undefeated champion, and setting a record of defences, and then move on to have a career in media, working for Sky Sports, boxing. If I can do that with my humble stars, can you imagine what you could do if you apply yourself? Because I'm quite sure most of your listeners are a lot cleverer than I was. And it's not about luck, because trust me, I had no luck going. I just listened. I learned. I watched. I was mentally maybe stubborn. That when I made a mistake, I think, well, why did that happen? Okay, I'll fix that next time, both. And if I made another mistake, I'll say, well, why did that happen? Because I fixed that. Well, we'll fix this, boom. And so I kept, boom, persistence. So eventually I fixed all the reasons why things went right. And it's hard, because people around you saying, yo, you want to give that up, you know, because you're not doing yourself any favors. If you can mentally conceive a way to succeed, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
You can always find a way, but it depends on how hard you look and where you look. But there's always a way. Yeah.
And listen, like I said, boxing to business, there's transferable skills. Hard work, dedication. Even when I started with nothing, and same thing, Johnny, I doubted myself, but you know what? Every day I went there, turned up. I went to deal with, I can remember one client, he didn't want to see me anyway, he was an older guy, and I realised he supported Stoke City, and I like football, so I was talking about Stoke City, and I made the connection. But I could have easily walked away, so he don't want to see me because I'm an Asian lad or whatever. But you know what? You got to stick in there. You can't just take the first thing. You know what I mean? Just like yourself. So I love them stories that you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's most important, and that's why. But you've got to be honest with yourself, you know. And we're not all going to be. And trust me, you don't have to be a world champion. We can all be successful in our own right. Some's stories higher than the others. But what I'm saying is, it's about mindset. And if you buy into negativity, then you're going to be negative. It's about mindset and about what you actually want. And then, listen, some guys will leave. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. I have no idea what I want to do. But if you get into good habits, you will fall onto your path. Yeah. But you've got to create good habits, and then your future will find you.
I love that. And you know, Steve Jobs, obviously, he had this famous quote when he says, "Listen, when you get somewhere, the dots will connect themselves up." You know, so you're looking back at your journey now and connecting these dots up. So sometimes don't worry too much about creating this perfect journey. Just go at it day in, day out, and you know something will come out. You can connect it back later. But going on to the business side, because boxing is a business, and you know, what would you say in business was your best decision, and some of the decisions which you didn't make that didn't go too well, and maybe people coming into the boxing world now, you know, treat it like a business. Any tips you can share with them so they don't make the same mistakes you see?
Decision, away from boxing, you mean?
Yeah, away from boxing as a business.
My best decision was to make sure I kept good habits. I stayed positive, stayed away from negativity. That's how you stay positive. I learned from my experience of the past to give me wisdom for the future. And you've got to always be checking yourself and be honest with yourself. And doing that way, don't give yourself excuses, which naturally as humans we do. Give ourselves excuses to fail. Yeah. So when you give yourself excuses, when things aren't right, that wasn't going to happen anyway, my hand's ain't, or I ain't got a vehicle to get there, or it's his fault. We can do everything and anything we want to, if we want to. It all depends on how much we want it. And if we have that attitude, that mindset, you will achieve anything. And I say to people, I don't have a script when I go and talk. I have bullet points about what I want to talk about. But I don't have a script.
Yeah.
You can always remember the truth. You can't remember a lie.
100%.
I talk from experience. So when I look back on experience, I think, well, that worked there. So let me apply that to that. Let me apply that to that. Let me apply that to that. That didn't work there, so I'm not going to put that in that. I'm not going to put that in that. Or that didn't work, so I need to tweak that, or I need to tweak this. So you can always remember the truth.
Yeah.
No matter what. And so and that way, you know, you own who you are. You know whatever you do it with like self-belief. I can do this. Our problem here, especially in the UK, is this. We feel uncomfortable with saying how good we are at something. Owning our shit. That's what I say, own your shit.
Yeah.
And what happens is, when I talk to athletes, I tell them they're special. You go, not everybody can do what you do. So that makes you special. Do you understand? You're simplifying it. And so when I say that to them, I said, I want you to realize you're special. So once you start to really realize you're special, I'm not like anybody else. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. You do it. If you think you can't do it, you probably won't do it. Or you might do it once, but you might not do it a second time. So what I'm saying is it's about mindset. We've got to feel comfortable with owning our shit. So I'm very comfortable. If somebody asked me about my career, I said, well, what I did achieve was unbelievable. It was outstanding. I think I was a very good boxer. I'm not being big-headed.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking fact. You're with business. I'm good in business. This is what I can do. You're not being big-headed. You're just being factual. But because we're so scared of actually saying, well, yeah, I can do this. You know, we're not inspiring others that are good at something because we're creating a habit where we're creating a habit where people can't inspire.
Johnny, why is that? Why is that? Because, like you said, that's such a good point. Why do we knock people who own the success and become role models? Why do people go at them? Why is that in the UK?
Because we see ourselves. We see put in ourselves a side of us that we wish we were, but that we can't. You know. So when we see someone successful, straight away, instead of enjoying the success of others, we look for, he's only done that because of this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You need to enjoy the success of others. You need to look at others and think, wow, no, The only thing you can't get, it's not a crime, is jealousy and envy. You understand? So those two things, you want to look at people and you think, right, if he can do it, it can be done. That's what you want to think.
Yeah.
Not if he's done it, he's lucky. Why has he got that? You want to think if he can do it, it means it can be done. Anybody on TV or whatever, we all shit, we all pee, we all eat, we all sleep. So nobody is superhuman. Some people might be academically smarter than others, and that might get them a little head start. But what I'm saying is, there's nothing, when it comes to experience, that's the one thing you can't buy, you can't borrow, or you can't pretend to have. So you've got to go through good and bad experiences in life to get wisdom.
100%. And that's why...
When bad things are happening, it's like, man, why me? I'm done.
Yeah, that's right.
Instead of thinking, all right, I learned from that. And when good things are happening, yes, I've done it. We can't get complacent. We think, all right, enjoy it and have a good time with it and then move on. We need both of these. And so we've got to expect bad experiences as well as good experience and embrace good experiences to get wisdom, because wisdom puts us where we want to be. Yeah. Wisdom is power. It's really power. I want to tell you, I know the secret to success, but I can't put it in words. I know it's a very thin line between failure and success, but I can't put it in words. I know what has to be done to get there, but I can't put it in words. I knew that because I used to see people that are successful thinking, how do you do that? How have you done that? And then when I got there, I thought, oh, I get it. It's so simple, but I can't put it in words.
Yeah.
You understand? And you know where you were 10 years ago to where you are now. So to where you were 10 years ago to where you are now, I'm thinking, I'm actually successful. I've done well here. How do you do it? Well, I did this, I did that, I did this. But why did you do that? Don't really know. But you know what it took to get there.
Yeah.
You know what drive you needed to get there. You know what the lessons you needed to learn to get there. And that was the difference. It's a very thin line between success and failure. And the hardest battle actually is when you've got successful, to stay successful.
Yeah.
Because when you're chasing success, you've got to drive, you've got to find a way, you've got to get up to the top of the hill, you've got to get there somehow. You've got the energy to get there, you've got the hunger. It's when you're there and your belly's full that you can't, then you've got to find a new form of motivation to think, yeah, I'm going to do this. And that's where the battle starts.
100%. And that's just keep evolving. Obviously, me and you doing this now, you're busy, I'm busy, but we still made time to make it happen, right? Because we just want to elevate more and more people, and the more we elevate, it's reciprocal.
So there's two ways you can do it. You can succeed and not want anybody else to succeed.
Yeah.
And not do something like this.
Yeah.
Or you can succeed and encourage others to succeed. Success breeds success.
That's right.
And that way, you never know. So I've got, and then human nature, never be surprised by it. So I've got three daughters. And with my three daughters, I'd do anything for them.
Yeah.
And I'd want everybody, and I'd want other people to do anything for them. And if I see somebody else's daughter or child, I would, if they were in dire straits, I would help them. If they were walking in the rain, they had to get down the road. I'm not encouraging this, but this is an example.
Yeah, of course.
They're jumping, get a lift. And no, not everybody else would do that. But I know if I've done the right thing, I can't expect, if I don't do the right thing, I can't expect others to do it if I'm not willing to do it. Yeah. You understand? So you've got to do the right thing. Even though you know others won't do it, you've got to know you've done it. So therefore, you know what, I'm honourable, I've done the right thing here. And I've not done it for pats on the back. I've done the right thing there because I can't expect others to treat mine in a certain way if I'm not going to treat others that way. And so there's little tests for yourself. There's little lines, posts you need to set for yourself. There's little disciplines you need to set for yourself. So we're forever learning. You see people jogging in the morning, they've got earphones on. And the reason why I've got earphones on is so they can run a little further. And it's not as hard to run. But you're not training the mind. You're training the body. Yeah. You're only distracting the mind. So what you do is take the earphones off and do the same run. Tell me how fast you do that run. Tell me how easy or hard that run is without the earphones is. And the reason why it's harder Because now all of a sudden our brain is listening to our body, is listening to our conscience saying, I'm tired, I want to turn back, I don't want to do this. Because we've got nothing to distract our brain. But our brain motivates all of this. So you've got to train that as much as you train this. So once you get into the habit of listening to your body, of listening and be able to concentrate and focus and look at the things that scare us and dissect it and take off the layers and understand it and break it down. Once you've trained that, you'll be unbeatable. You can be 90% physically fit. You might win a fight. You can be 90% mentally on it, strong, fit, and everything, and 10% fit. But because you're mentally there, to me, that is stronger than anything. Because we are our biggest critic and our biggest supporter. And it's down to us how we move forward and how we deal with human nature.
And training that mind, is it for you just consistently habits, keep doing things? Do you do any meditation, anything like that, or are you just completely challenging your thoughts all the time?
I challenge my thoughts all the time. So if I'm uncomfortable with something, not happy with something, there's for a reason for that. So I've got to understand what I'm not happy with, and what I'm uncomfortable with, what's not working for me. And so if I do it that way, then I look at it. So you put yourself in a situation where, a scary situation. What we do is we don't look at it. We think, I don't want to deal with that. I can't handle that.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with it. Face your fears. Make fear your friend. And so then you run with fear. So you look at the things, what's making you uncomfortable, and understand it. Why is it what is uncomfortable? What's it doing to me? Making me nervous. Why is it doing that? What is it I'm scared of? I'm scared of falling. I'm scared of looking stupid. I'm scared of this. So why would I fall? What, am I wearing big shoes? Why am I going to look stupid? Because I don't know something? Well, learn something. So break it down. And if you breaking it down, eventually, the things that feared you think, well, actually, no. And the reason why I can tell you this, because I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. I used to be a nervous kid. I used to mistake nerves for fear. And so what I do is, when the penny finally dropped, I thought, I know what I've got to do. I put myself in scary situations that made me nervous. So I had to deal with them. And one of the best practices was, there's a wood near the gym called Woollywood Bottom. And I used to go running at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I would drive to Winkerbank and get out of the car and run through the wood and through the graveyard. And the first day I'm thinking, shit, I'm scared, man. Why would I do that? But then because I'm preparing to get for a fight. So I want to be mentally strong than physically strong. So I'm thinking, well, what are you scared of? What's the worst thing that can happen? Why someone could jump out and get me. Then I'm like, Johnny, you're a big 6'3" black man, and you're a boxer. So can you imagine someone in the woods? And I'm not saying you have to be black or white, man or woman. What I'm saying is, can you imagine someone in the woods waiting to frighten you, and they see you running through the woods and thinking, shit. So why should you be scared of them? So because 9 times out of 10, they're probably not going to be someone in the woods. What I'm saying is, it's our fears, mental fears, that hold us back. So I put myself in a position where I made myself comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Yeah. So I never got scared. So again, another transferable skill. What I'm saying to you in business, you put yourself in uncomfortable situations where your back's up against the wall, and you think, right, how am I going to get out of this? So once that becomes a habit of getting out of those situations or dealing with those situations, you are not scared of any situation, environment, any meeting, any confrontation you've got to deal with, because you've made it a habit of being able to deal with these things. So usually when you get a little bit nervous or scared, we sweat, we'll perspire, our hair will get wet, our armpits, or we'll stutter, we'll slab, or whatever. You've got to keep putting yourself in those situations, because we can only look away so much, but one day when we least expect it, boom, that situation only catches. And when it catches us, we're stuck. Yeah. So you want to be prepared for every scenario, everything. So what I'm saying is, make fear your friend. Create good habits. Get comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And in doing that, when you do that, then what happens is you're there. You are the ultimate machine. And that's why when I came to win the world title, I'd been in every experience. I've won, I've lost, I've drawn, I've been robbed, I've been in horrible situations, I've been lonely, I've been high, I've been low. So I experienced every aspect of our game. So when it comes to boxing for the world title 21 years ago in Derby, I knew walking in that ring, I was not going to lose.
Yeah.
I had no right to lose because he and no other boxer in the world had stood in my shoes. I stood in my shoes. I was the one that walked my path. I was the one that had my doubts, my fears, my everything. I was the one that got over them. So why would I make nerves or anything else make me lose to him? And so you could transfer this to business.
Yeah.
If you practice it and experience it, you have the wisdom and every right to succeed. And there's nothing wrong with actually saying that. I deserve to succeed. And if you don't succeed today, try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Try again and learn from yesterday.
And I bet presenting, because obviously when I started this podcast 2 years ago, the first interview I was like, shit. But then I met a billionaire and you get over it. I bet presenting the same. I bet when you first started, you're probably like...
So presenting's the same. So in boxing, you can put your way out of a situation. Presenting, thousands, millions of people are watching you. And so now it's something you can't punch your way out of, but you're like, shit. So you're sweating like, because you're scared. And what you're scared of? You're scared of people judging you.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't look right. His hair looks shit. He didn't say that right. He sounds stupid. So you worry about all these things that people might be thinking.
Yeah.
You have got to be you. You and I could go into for a job application with the same amount of qualifications. There's a reason why I picked you over me or me over you, because of our character.
Yeah.
Our character, our vibe, our aura, just to say, I can handle this. So if I going there all nervous, thinking I want you to feel sorry for me and give me the job, I ain't going to get the job. I want someone that's got some character, someone about them. I don't care if you both got the same qualifications. I want a reason to pick you. Your character. And your character gets you through. So when you're presenting, now it's my character that sells me. My character that sells me. Because I know there are people that have been to university that have trained in journalism. I know there are people that have been world champion in the past. I know that people that have done all these sort of things, but there's a reason why I've got my job. So right now, my character is keeping me there because I have the experience to say, well, actually, I've done this. There's other people with the experience, but the reason why my experience is good enough because I've got the character to go with it.
Yeah, and no one can take that away from you. You know what I mean? You own that yourself. But lots of good stuff there for my business podcast. I just want to do a quick fire and then we'll wrap it up and talk about mentoring. But the gloves are off now. Johnny, the gloves are off. So I've got some questions for you.
Let's do it.
I want to talk about is the mentors. Brendan Ingle was such a big mentor for you. And just tell me a bit about the importance of mentors in your eyes. Obviously, I do a lot in the business side. I help people through our academy. But for you, you know, obviously you've had such a big influence over your life. What does mentors mean to you, Johnny?
We all need a Brendan Ingle. Brendan Ingle, again, I'll keep giving this example. David Beckham wouldn't be David Beckham without Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah. Princess Mohammed or myself wouldn't be us without Brendan Ingle. It doesn't mean David Beckham, it doesn't mean Sir Alex Ferguson or Brendan would have been better fighters than us. It means they had a better foresight, a better understanding, a better translation technique to explain to us, to bring the best out in people like me or Naz or Ryan or anybody. And it's not just about sportsmen. You know, Brendan helped so many people in using common sense, in not being confused by foolishness, as my mother would say. And so in doing that, he made boys better men. He made girls better women. He made men better fathers, women better mothers, because, and he's not forcing you, he's just opening your eyes and saying, well, this is how you want to look at stuff. He translated how we misunderstand things, misconstrue things. And again, if you hate somebody, they have a part of your emotions. If you love somebody, they have a part of your emotions. You've got to be indifferent and think with common sense. If you think with common sense, then usually you're far on the truth, how way you should be. Brendan Ingle was, he could see the best in people, but not down to let him know how it worked, but he'd encourage that out of you. Mentors can come in all shapes and sizes. He or she can come in any way. It can be a mother, a brother, a sister, a father, a wife, a friend, a stranger. But when you find that mentor, you'll know that's your mentor, that's your Brendan. And so I just think we all need one. It's just unfortunate we don't all seem to find them.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I set the podcast up. It's giving that voice to the many, because it's hard to get the one-to-one. So you could pick one or the other. I want to just go with your gut instinct, right? So Amir Khan versus Kell Brook.
Wow. Okay. Originally I'd have said Amir Khan, because Amir Khan was on it. He was on point. Then one time I couldn't choose because we're both on level. Then I went for Kell Brook, because Kell Brook then had come into his own. Now I would say Kell Brook. The reason why I'd say Kell Brook is because Amir Khan don't want it. End of story. Kell Brook has had to jump through every hoop, and Amir Khan has said he's got to do this, he's got to do that, he's got to do this, he's got to do that. Amir Khan and Kell Brook has done it. Still don't want it. So that tells me, even if I dislike you, even if I know I can beat you, I'm going to get paid a chunk of money to fight you. But if I keep on making every excuse not to fight you, there's some deep-seated hatred going on there, or there's a reason why I don't want to fight you, because I think you're going to kick my ass. So right now, Amir Khan believes Kell Brook can beat him, but he's never going to let anybody know. So you're asking me Amir Khan and Kell Brook? Right now I'm saying Kell Brook.
Okay. Carl Froch or Joe Calzaghe?
Joe Calzaghe. Carl Froch is the hardest man, one of the hardest men I've ever met. And I'm quite sure he'd have given Joe Calzaghe kittens, but Joe Calzaghe is so fast, his punch ratio is he's on it. Also a tough cookie as well. His work rate was a lot higher than Carl Froch, but Carl Froch is a granite chip. Okay.
Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua?
Well, Deontay Wilder, I've always said he's the biggest puncher, but technically the worst out of the top 10 heavyweights. So he's only got his punch to depend on. I'd say Anthony Joshua, because Anthony Joshua can box. But then Anthony Joshua showed his vulnerabilities where he got that knocked out against Andrew Ruiz. So he showed his vulnerabilities, but he learned a hell of a lot from that. So I would lean towards Anthony Joshua.
Okay, and so Anthony Joshua versus Fury, because that's the most talked about fight now. Obviously, we're in lockdown, so that could be later on now. But who wins that one?
Tyson Fury, technically the best out of a lot of them. Anthony Joshua is an all-round sportsman. He can box, he can fight. So therefore, I can give every reason why both fighters could win. I'd say 51% Tyson Fury, 49% Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua has shown and has proved that he can devise and be mentally strong enough to devise a game plan to beat any man, which we saw. Yeah. So I'd say 51% Tyson Fury, 49% Anthony Joshua.
So tight. And this last one will be a box office or sell out worldwide. Johnny Nelson versus Carl Froch. Who wins?
Me. What? Me. And listen, Carl Froch is a warrior.
Yeah.
So Carl Froch wants you to stand there and have a table with him. I ain't no warrior. I'm a boxer. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I'll box and move and get out of the way and frustrate you. So if it's a fighting competition, a punch-up, to stand there toe-to-toe, Carl Froch every day of the week. If we would have said weight, but it wouldn't be. It's about mindset.
Yeah.
It's about how you change the language. When two guys are fighting toe-to-toe, one of them's got to change the language. Again, another transferable skill.
Yeah.
Changing the language is coming in from a different angle. Whoa, pick up the back foot. Change the language. And you've got to confuse your opponent in any aspect.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to thank you, Johnny, for your time. We've done an hour now, which is awesome. Appreciate your time, Johnny.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Shall we end it with a fist pump?
Yeah.
So we get...
Bye.
Nice one. All right, take care. All the best. So thank you for watching that video. If you want to see other videos and great guests, make sure you subscribe and like the video. So you can now head over to my website where you can see a bit of my story of building and scaling my businesses, and also all the free resources and tools which you can help you on your journey in your brand and your business. You can also subscribe on the podcast, so you can check on iTunes, Spotify and other locations where you can find the podcast. And I look forward to catching you very soon. Thank you.